Hi and welcome to our Titanic investigation, a tale of mystery and unending recrimination. Our show today is based on a very simple question: who sank the Titanic?
There are 5 main culprits for us to consider. Was it Captain Smith of the Titanic's fault? He did command the ship after all.
Or was it Captain Lord of the Californian? He commanded a nearby ship, but his radios were switched off and he didn't answer to any distress calls.
Was it Bruce Ismay, the Titanic's managing director? Apparently he forced Captain Smith to keep going full speed through an ice field.
Or was it the ship's architect, Thomas Andre? He designed the ships and its watertight compartments. It turns out it wasn't unsinkable.
Or was it us, the shipbuilders of Belfast? Did we send a subpar boat out of our docks?
I certainly hope not, but no stone must be left unturned. I want to know, once and for all, who sank the Titanic?
The Titanic was a passenger liner built in Belfast. It was the largest ship of her time. The Titanic carried over 2,000 passengers and crew, but sadly many of them died during this disaster. The Titanic sank during its maiden voyage to New York, USA from Southampton, England. It hit an iceberg and sank at around 1 a.m. on the 15th of April 1912. 1,500 people died. The Titanic disaster was one of the worst ocean disasters in modern history, and its story continues to attract worldwide attention to this day.
The Titanic was built in Belfast by Harland and Wolff. These two figures were the shipbuilders of the company White Star Line, and their niches still adorned the famous yellow cranes that decorate our skyline. It took 3 years to build and cost $7.5 million, $400 million in today's money. It was constructed with 16 watertight compartments that could be quickly closed to prevent sinking in the event of a flood, hence the myth that it was unsinkable.
It had 24 double-ended boilers and 5 single-ended boilers. It had 6 boiler rooms to accommodate these boilers, which were up to 20 feet long.
The ship had 4 funnels, only 3 actually worked. However, the 4th was there just to make the ship look more powerful.
The Titanic moved through the sea with its enormous steam-powered propellers. There were 3 in total.
There were many facilities for passengers to enjoy on board. There were 4 restaurants, 2 barber shops, a swimming pool, a gym, a squash court, 2 libraries, 3 galleries, elevators, a spiral staircase, and even a Turkish bath.
The grand staircase was the crowning glory of the Titanic. It was made from polished oak, wrought iron and glass. The centrepiece of the staircase contained a clock. Passengers would walk down the staircase to enter the first-class dining room.
Not everyone got the full use of the ship. However, the Titanic operated a class system for its passengers with low fares third-class passengers and limited space, and higher fares with those with enough money to splurge on the luxurious journey.
Most of the passengers on the Titanic were third class, and most of those in third class died. It is said that one of the reasons it could be that their quarters were farther away from the lifeboats than first and second class passengers.
The Titanic was staffed by a huge crew of 913 people. The crew included the deck crew, the engineering department, stewards, galley staff, restaurant staff, musicians and post staff. Only 215 of the crew survived the sinking.
Included in the list of people that were there that night were Captain Arthur Smith and director Bruce Ismay. Both have been accused of being responsible for the Titanic's demise.
For his part, Captain Smith ignored 7 iceberg warnings. It has been reported that if he had slowed down, the disaster may not have happened. In his defence, he would say that he was pressured into the decision by Ismay.
Ismay is said to have instructed Captain Smith to keep going at full speed. It is apparently true that he had a target of getting the Titanic to New York in 6 days to promote White Star Line. To meet the schedule, Captain Smith wouldn't have been able to slow the ship. Ismay should have heeded the warnings.
In his defence, Bruce Ismay could have pointed to the architect and the shipbuilders. He also could have implied that the ship wasn't built with the best of materials. He also could have said that Thomas Andre, the ship architect, made a mistake in its design, that it shouldn't have sank.
Ultimately, it was decided by an American inquiry that it was in fact Captain Lord's fault for not turning the Californian around and providing assistance. What do you think? Who sank the Titanic?
Captain Smith.
Captain Smith.
Captain Smith.
Shipbuilders. Shipbuilders.
Captain Smith.
Captain Smith.
Thomas Andrew.
Who sank the Titanic?
Shipbuilders.
Bruce Ismay. Shipbuilders.
Who sank the
Shipbuilders.
Titanic? Who
Bruce
sank the
Ismay.
Titanic?
Bruce Ismay. Thomas Andrew.
Titanic?
Bruce Ismay.
Titanic?
Bruce Ismay.
Thomas Andrew.
Who sank the
Thomas
Titanic?
Andrew.
Who sank the
Thomas Andrew.
Titanic?
Captain Lord. Captain Lord.
Who sank
Captain
the
Lord.
Titanic?
Captain
Who
Lord.
sank the Titanic?
Captain Lord. Captain Lord.
Who sank the
Thomas Andrew.
There were two official inquiries into the Titanic investigation. One was a British inquiry, the other American.
Of the two inquiries, it was only the Americans willing to hold Captain Smith responsible for failing to slow down the boat. By contrast, the British inquiry concluded that it was common practice to keep up speed in icy weather. Both agreed, however, that the disaster was made worse by Captain Lord, who had turned off the California's radios and couldn't respond to the Titanic's distress call. Had the California's radios been on, they might have gotten there in time to save all the passengers' lives. Sadly, Thomas Andrew and Captain Arthur Smith died the night the Titanic sank. However, we can still imagine what a court case on the sinking would have been like had they survived. What would each suspect have to say for themselves? Who would the jury have found guilty?
Order! Order! We're here today to take statements from 5 individuals under suspicion for causing the demise of the RMS Titanic. I call to the stand Captain Arthur Smith.
I swear by Almighty God that the evidence that I provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Captain Smith, let me get straight to the point. You ignored 7 iceberg warnings from the neighboring ship, the Californian, did you not?
I did.
Then you are responsible for the sinking of the Titanic, surely?
In a way, I suppose, but there are other reasons for my decision.
Such as?
Well, I would say first of all that it is common practice for a ship to maintain speed going through an ice field, so I just carried on as any captain would.
This was surely a blundering error.
Well, yes, I know that now, but how could I have not maintained speed with Ismay in my ear? The man would not stop pestering me for his cursed world record.
Are you saying that it was Bruce Ismay's fault that the Titanic struck that iceberg?
I am.
The state calls Bruce Ismay to the stand.
Mr. Ismay, do approach the stand, thank you.
Mr. Ismay, is it true that you pestered, as it were, Captain Smith to maintain speed?
No, it's certainly not.
Do you admit that making it to America in record time was indeed your aim?
Well, yes, I suppose. White Star Line wanted as much.
And did you share this target with Captain Smith at any point?
Well, of course Captain Smith was aware of the target, yes.
Then did you pressure Captain Smith?
I simply told him of the target, nothing more. And anyway, the ship wouldn't have sunk if Thomas Andrew had designed the thing properly.
The state calls Thomas Andrew to the stand.
Mr. Andrew, approach the stand.
Mr. Andrew, a simple question here. If the Titanic was truly unsinkable, why did it sink?
Well, no one ever said it was unsinkable. That was the blasted papers.
So it wasn't unsinkable after all. Well, why did the people think that it was?
There were watertight compartments. If 1 or 2 of the compartments flooded, it could be quickly sealed without the ship actually sinking.
Well, that wasn't the case, was it, Mr. Andrew? The ship did sink.
I don't have an answer to that. The ship obviously took on too much water. I would assume faulty rivets if an iceberg was able to do that much damage.
The state calls the representative of the Harland and Wolff shipbuilders to the stand.
Could the shipbuilders representative approach the stand?
Is it true, sir, that you used faulty resources to build the Titanic?
Honestly, I don't know. We used what we were given.
So you're telling me that no shipbuilder was able to tell if the materials you were using were of good quality?
No, I'm telling you that we used what we were given. We weren't making the iron rivets ourselves or buying them. We did our job as we're told to do it. That's it.
You do realize that faulty rivets, according to Mr. Andrew, may have caused the sinking of the Titanic.
Well, we didn't make the rivets. We were given them and told to build. And anyway, I can't see how it's our fault. They shouldn't have hit the iceberg.
That could be considered an unfortunate accident. The use of bad rivets can't.
Oh, and can it be considered an accident too, that Captain Lord switched off his radios and didn't respond to the Titanic's distress calls?
The state calls Captain Lord to testify.
Captain Lord, you may approach the stand.
I swear by Almighty God that the evidence that I provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Captain Lord, you've heard the accusation. What say you?
I don't accept it. We sent many warnings to the Titanic about the need to slow down. None of them were heeded. We assumed they knew better and that they were unsinkable.
They weren't.
And that's a sad fact.
Why did you turn off the radios?
We were done for the evening.
And the flares? You didn't respond to the Titanic's flares.
I thought they were fireworks.
That will be all, Your Honour.
The court will now ask the jury to take leave for deliberation.
Honestly, I'm completely undecided. There are way too many reasons to blame each of them. I think they're all guilty in their own way. It was a terrible accident as far as I'm concerned.
I don't agree. It was obviously Captain Lord's fault. He should have helped. Instead, he turned his radios off. I mean, seriously? Well, he wouldn't have needed to be there if Captain Smith had just listened to his warnings and slowed down. I think it was Captain Smith's fault.
No way, he was just doing what he was told. Ismay is the problem. If Ismay hadn't have told Smith to keep up speed, I bet he wouldn't have. Anyways, I don't like Ismay. Something about him.
That's not fair. He seemed like a reasonable person. Why would you blame him instead of Captain Smith? It was Smith's responsibility. I agree with Chloe, it was Smith's fault.
Now hold on here a minute, guys. Are we going to let the architect off the hook? He designed the ship not to sink and it sank. I mean, come on. He should have at least checked if it was unsinkable or not. I think Andrew's to blame.
But he did design it to be unsinkable. It was the rivets that were the problem. The shipbuilder should have flagged up the fact that the rivets weren't good enough.
I agree with Fashion. It's the shipbuilder's fault. They should have noticed that the materials were not good enough to use and refused to use it.
Then they would have lost their job. You can expect that from them. White Star Line, who Esme worked for, sent the materials. Esme should be held responsible.
No way, that's not fair. The design was sent to them by Thomas Andrew. He should have made sure the ship was done properly. It was his fault.
No, it really wasn't his fault. He was designing the ship. The engineers should have said if his designs were a problem. Look, if it hadn't hit the iceberg, we wouldn't be in this mess. But how can what Captain Lord said be considered an accident? He should have been there to save the poor people.
I don't know, you all make such good arguments. I can't decide. They were all guilty in a small way. Only if they would have listened to one another and compromised. It seems to me like they were all too proud to be wrong. It is very sad.
So who or what? Some say it was the iceberg sank the Titanic. The truth is, we don't actually know. We may never know. But I don't think it was our fault, the shipbuilders, I mean.
Yes, I think we did our job right. Everybody in Belfast always does their job right, don't they? It was alright when I left Belfast.
We have been filming a documentary style video based on Who Sank the Titanic with Primary 7 pupils from St Joseph's and Primary 7 pupils from Black Mountain.
We're involved in a cross-community project with Black Mountain Primary School. The funding comes from an organisation called Peace 4, and the intention is that we can bring children from both communities along the divide together for reconciliation.
I've noticed that the kids have got on so well, particularly for some of my children that would be a bit nervous. They've actually made lots of new friends, which is really lovely. When we come back to school in the afternoon, they've said, I made a new friend today, and I think that's really lovely. That's something I'll really take away from this project. It just shows how worthwhile it is to do these things.
Black Mountains are Protestants and St Joseph's are Catholics. So it's like bringing them together, like knowing that they're different cultures, but nothing really different.
Well, I really enjoyed filming and seeing other people film and seeing their potential and stuff.
It's been a great experience, yeah. I met Sarah Rose, Evan, Ethan, Abby. What's the other one? I can't remember the other one, but I met 5 people.
It's good to see kids mingling, building friendships with children from different communities that they wouldn't necessarily come across every day or meet every day, and we're giving them that chance to and experience that.
It's been successful somewhat in that regard, and it's a shame it's over.
The last 3 days have been brilliant. We've enjoyed filming. I think the teachers have had good crack, the assistants, and the children, that's what it's all about, bringing them together, learning.
The project's been hugely successful. It's been a long week, but the children have worked really, really hard. And yeah, we're just so proud of them all for getting in front of the camera. Some of them have been quite scared to do so, but they've put themselves out of their comfort zone, and I can see children are growing in confidence, which is just amazing.